Hey, everybody. My name's Greg, and I have my colleague Wyatt here as well with me. Today, we're here to talk to you guys about Web3.js and basically the revamp that we've been kind of going through with it and all the changes that are coming to a library that hopefully a lot of you are very familiar with. Cool. Oh, internet. There we go. Super quick, give you kind of table of agenda, what we're going to do here. Quick little introduction, talk about what, just brief what Web3.js is for those that might not know, and really dig into what the future is, where we're going with it, and all that. Now, there's a QA session actually right after this, so I think we're going to probably skip that unless there are some immediate stuff, but we'll jump right into that right after. Cool. So first of all, thanks, Steve, for that nice intro. It's actually been really great working with you guys for, a lot of great suggestions. It's been a pleasure to, have people from the community say, like, this is some things that we actually want to drive forward. So yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. But to jump in really quick, my name's Greg. I'm one of the co-founders, CTO at Chainsafe. Aside from just doing day-to-day stuff, something I spend a lot of my part-time work and free time on is developer and user experience within the Ethereum space. Spend a lot of time on the RPC layer and the wallet layer trying to just see what we can do and to clean it all up and ensure that people have a great experience. Also got my colleague Wyatt here. He's the lead on Web3.js, and he's been taking charge on all the really awesome rewrites and new things and features that we're adding into the library. And he will be chatting halfway through to kind of talk about all that stuff. Really quickly, if you don't know, Chainsafe, we're a leader in blockchain protocol and infrastructure development, and we've been building multi-chain since before, it was popular. So we work on a various set of protocols: ETH2, Filecoin, Polkadot, Mina. And in all those ecosystems, we're basically building nodes or client software, as well as doing a bunch of integrations for awesome people like the Chainlink team, Gitcoin, and building our own solutions on top of them, which one of them is called Files and Storage. Definitely check it out, files.chainsafe.io. And yeah, I tried using my arrow key to move forward. So let's just quickly jump in and kind of really talk about what Web3.js is. So Web3.js, for those that don't know, is an Ethereum JavaScript API. You can think of it also as an SDK for Ethereum for developers writing in JavaScript or TypeScript. It's basically your gateway to getting information and interacting with the chain. Some quick stats to talk about it. And yes, on NPM, if you're familiar, it's just installing with Web3. We get about 270,000 downloads a week. This is actually up 92% from a year ago today. That's to tell you, one, nice improvements have been happening, and also two, we're seeing a lot more developers coming into the space, which is super, super exciting. And when it comes to dependence and stuff, I'm pretty sure we're the most dependent on library in the space from a JavaScript perspective. But we've got over 3,000 projects depending on us at any given time. That's where a lot of the 270,000 come from. One of the bigger ones being Truffle. So if you're familiar with the Truffle suite, you get Web3.js right out of the box. A little bit of history to get kind of understand, how Chainsafe is, why we're working on it, because we weren't the first people to work on it. It had a bit of a turbulent past. It had a lot of broken releases. It was really just in alpha state for a really, really long time. Eventually got into beta and got stuck with this broken Semver system where basically everyone just installs 1x. It's 1x gets everything. It doesn't really follow Semver properly. It's really hard to get new features put in without breaking everything and causing a lot of havoc. It has a lot of code from 2014, like the library is from then. It's very old, has a lot of old JavaScript style in it, and even things down to like the declaration files they've manually written are just incorrect. And in all that being said, it's really bloated. For instance, we just removed underscore a couple months ago, which was just like unnecessary because we have things like .map. But libraries like that aren't needed, and it's just really, really bloated. It's over like 1 meg on the Webpack build, which is crazy, or 100 megs. Yeah, 100 megs, which is like insane. So in 2018 and 2019, the libraries from 2014, it was there the day Ethereum was built, sort of thing, as like the key, that library to interact with Ethereum. In 2018 and 2019, the Ethereum.js team did an incredible job to like stabilize the whole project and basically brought it back into a regular recycles, fixed a lot of the bugs that had been there for like multiple years. And then in 2020, so last year, we had a chat with the Ethereum.js team, and basically we did a bit of a handoff. Chainsafe took it over and to try and stabilize it and fix it. Because for those that know, like there's a lot of woes. People definitely, had reservations about it. And especially when it came to the idea of like, well, there's other libraries, right? There's like Ethers, there's so many and so many other like libraries from like the Truffle teams and the Hardhead teams. It's like, do we really need another provider library? And do we need it? Like, what's the reason for maintaining Web3.js? And this kind of goes back to our philosophy at Chainsafe and working on infrastructure layer stuff. And it's really one of the big things for us was that, we made a bet about the next million developers coming to Ethereum. And one of the things that really drove our decision to say, like, this is something we should take over and continue to maintain and actually improve and make better is the fact that if you go online and you look up, how to write a smart contract, interacting with Ethereum, the majority of things you'll find are blogs, tutorials, Stack Overflow questions that all link back to Web3.js. So if we were to deprecate the software today, we would actually be breaking like years of quality content for new people to join. And we know that like these next million developers coming from Web2 world or from wherever else, are going to be Googling these things. And if they can't find and use the libraries that the examples have, we're basically restarting from scratch. So, we decided that this is something we're going to take on and get ready for that next big push. And I mean, in 1 year, we're already seeing almost 100% increase in usage, which is kind of showing that I think we're doing the right thing, and really excited to kind of really push it forward. Right. And so this kind of leads into kind of moving forward. It's like, what are we doing with Web3.js? How are we, getting ready for that next million developers, so to speak? And that's where my colleague Wyatt will take over.
So yeah, as Greg mentioned before, the existing library 1x is it's kind of old JavaScript from 2014. It just means it's like pre-ES6 stuff. It just does things and a lot of like, promise callback stuff that's just like, that was the style back then, right? And so in the rewrite in 4x, we are really taking advantage of the latest and greatest, going all the way to ES 2020, making use of like the big int types, all the, async await things, all the nice stuff that we have in modern JavaScript that a lot of the Web 2, maybe even the Web 3 developers who use JavaScript are very familiar with. So we're giving them access to all the great stuff, so that way they don't have to make use of libraries like underscore and Lodash and stuff like that. Next slide, please, Craig. Of course, we're trying our hardest to remain backwards compatibility, so that way it's not super frustrating time for current 1x users to upgrade to 4x. We definitely don't want to have to split our resources and maintaining both 1x and 4x. We want to just get everyone on 4x so that we can move forward together. That's obviously going to be a challenge. In 4x, we're doing things like removing the Whisper and Swarm packages. We've kind of already deprecated them in 1x. We created a 3x branch that has that. They're just old libraries that aren't being used too much anymore. And in currently 1x, we have support for, I would say very initial support for like the Beacon Chain API, so that way you can start talking to the ETH2 nodes and stuff like that. And, of course, we're going to carry that forward into 4x, and it's going to get upgraded alongside, meaning it's going to have TypeScript and ES 2020 support and stuff like that. In the rewrite, we made a really conscious effort to, so one of the biggest problems with 1x maybe not so much from a user perspective, but definitely from a developer maintainer perspective, is that the way that 1x was written is very, I would say maybe convoluted. Wrapping the RPC methods, it would make sense to try to have some sort of generator function that just loops through all the different RPC methods and generates a lot of the code for you. But that starts to break down when each individual call needs different formatting or different parameters, and it just what ended up happening is 1x is just kind of like this really complex beast, and there's a little bit of spaghetti code, and it made it really hard to, if a user reported bug, it was like, okay, well, first we got to track down where the bug is, and then it's like we make this one change, and because it's so complex, it breaks a bunch of other things and stuff. And so going forward, we decided to just handwrite most of the functions, put in the hard work initially, but that lets us have like granular control over everything. So if like there's one RPC method that needs to get updated for an EIP or something like that, it makes it really easy to just go in and fix that one function and not have it affect the rest of the code base too much. So it makes the developer maintainer life a lot easier and a lot more straightforward, so that way we can respond to issues and bugs a whole lot quicker. And then even it makes it easier for outside contributors to come in, look at the code base, understand what it's doing, and then start contributing for maybe their first time in open source software. So definitely really cool to be inclusive like that. Along with that is the removal of the prototype overrides and complex list reassignments. It's just that's just adding fuel to the fire, that the existing 1x code base is just really complex, and especially if you are a modern JavaScript developer who came into like the recent years, like myself and stuff, and you weren't really around in the JavaScript space in 2014, you don't really understand all these concepts, and using this incredibly heavy was really popular back then. And I myself am not super familiar with it, so it took a second to wrap my head around how all this stuff works and everything like that. And it was just a barrier to me contributing to Web3 and open source software and stuff. So definitely getting rid of that and being more straightforward. The other cool thing is with 1x, a lot of the packages are all we bundle all together into this like super mega Web3 object. But what ended up happening is that some users are not going to use every single function that's provided or every single package that's bundled in together. And so instead of users having this giant 1 point something megabyte bundle in their project, we just import what you need basically. A really cool thing is we're going to have a plugin system. And so this is going to allow other projects and stuff to essentially create SDKs. And then a Web3 user would be able to just use the SDK. In this case, it's like the Sushi V2. And so we'll essentially wrap their SDK with the Web3 provider, as well as like any of the other Web3 packages that are included, like the ETH RPC stuff. And Sushi SDK can make use of the Web3 environment that it's going to be basically baked into, and then it looks very straightforward for the Web3 user. As you can see, it would just be a matter of basically importing the SDK, initializing, adding it to the Web3 object, and then being able to use the SDK right off the bat. You wouldn't have to configure any provider stuff that would already be configured when you instantiate the Web3 object. So it's going to be really cool, and it's going to allow people to like create SDKs for like their specific smart contracts, and it's going to allow it to be like really easy to use for you, the end user. The other thing that I'm kind of excited that I worked on personally for the rewrite is, and this code example is not correct, Greg wrote it, but anyways, it's a really cool thing of like when you instantiate Web3, the ETH object, specifically all the RPC wrappers, you can pass in this preferred type when you instantiate the class, and that'll be like a global modifier for like any call that we get back from the RPC node is hex string by default, but you as the user get to decide whether that gets casted into a number string, a big end, or left as like a hex string. And so you can do that at a global level for the entire Web3 ETH package, so it'll affect all the RPC calls accordingly, or you can even do it per call. And so if I at the global level say that I want big ends, but for whatever reason, when I do a get block number request, I want the block number and stuff to be returned as like an actual number, I can do that on a per call basis as well. And so it's kind of just a small nice to have feature, but yeah, well, 1x kind of had some problem with like formatting and stuff, where some stuff was hex strings, some things were numbers, and some were number strings. And in one case that even broke it when users were trying to use the Binance chain, because there was like I think it was the gas or the block number was so big it surpassed the max int for JavaScript, and we had to go in there and change that, but it changed it for everything. And so with the new type system, it'll be pretty modular. It goes with the theme of the modularity of 4x. So pretty exciting stuff. I think, yeah, you can answer the questions in the chat. We do have a QA session after this, and that might be a bit more appropriate.
Yep, and if you're done, Wyatt and Greg, thank you so much, and we'll actually invite back Kawe, and we will go directly into that Q&A section.